Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Did y'all miss me from last week? I missed y'all. Whether you did or not, I missed you, and I am happy that you clicked on this video. Welcome back if you are not new. Welcome if you are, if you have no idea who I am. My name is Tiana, and I pretty much, to keep a long story short, I like to yap about things that I feel like need to be yapped about, and I feel like we're not yapping enough about. So that's pretty much the gist. So today I am discussing, and I'm pretty sure if you have access to an iPhone that can go on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, you have seen or at least heard about the viral video that's been going around where this white, young lady, she's doing her cooking video and she just casually says the N-word. How could she? On a more serious note though, for this video, I'm not necessarily interested in talking about this random white girl casually saying the N-word. She isn't or hasn't been the first. She won't be the last, so I feel like it would kind of be a waste of time, energy, and breath to talk about that aspect of it. I want to ask questions about where we as a community are directing our outrage and how our continuous and habitual misplacement of our offense is keeping us in a loop. And why aren't we offended about the things that we absolutely should be offended by? So let's begin, shall we? So let's now take a look at the video that started this mass outrage, and let's kind of look at the reactions of other people, and let's look at her reaction to the reactions.
So I'm sick and tired of all girls getting blamed, or like guys, certain guys, thinking that all girls are gold diggers. I don't know if it's because you get your information from those street interviews in like Miami at 3 a.m. outside of a nightclub. You're getting the opinion of some dumb whores and immigrants fresh off the boat looking for a green card. Yes, they are probably gold diggers, but that's the exception. I'm the rule. Everybody I know who's married right now, they're married to broke-ass niggas. And they don't care. We don't give a fuck about your money. They're married to broke-ass niggas. So a recent video of mine seems to have upset members of a certain community, and all the backlash just really made me, just really do a deep dive, like do a soul search. And after all that, I still couldn't find a care.
You're gonna call us racist? You're gonna call us potential Timothy McVeighs? Fuck you. War.
So yeah, I think her reaction to the backlash of everything is kind of another layer of why people are kind of outraged and a little bit confused, because like the normal reaction is, you go into hiding, you get off social media, you just don't say anything because you have offended Black people. So like you need to lay low. That's the protocol. But she's more like, no, I said it. I'd actually say it again. And she has said it again. But let's be very clear, right? The use of the N-word by non-Black people to many is very offensive and unacceptable. And the reason I say many and not all is because in 2024, there are Black people who don't mind if non-Black people say the word. There are a lot of Black people who allow their non-Black friends to say the word. There are a lot of Black people who've just detached themselves from the word in general and just they don't mind it. So that's the reason why I say many. To many, it's unacceptable and offensive, but in 2024, it's not all. And I talk about this in depth in a recent video that The tag should pop up here. I'll also insert like a picture so you know which video to go to. But I went in depth about the logic behind why there are some black people who don't mind if non-black people say the word, and why white people or non-black people feel not justified, but like okay with saying the word. And a part of that reason is because we say it in rap, we say it in hip hop, we say it casually, and I know for some black people we say it as a term of empowerment and a term of endearment, but what a lot of people don't know is the highest consumers of rap are white suburbanites. If you're putting something in music, it is being internalized and the lyrics are gonna be repeated. When these celebrities and these rappers go on tour, it is not just all black people in the crowd, and there are some white people who are saying the lyrics that these rappers are putting out. I break all that down in the video, so make sure you go check it out right after you're done with this one. So my whole thing is like, while we're quick to react to situations and incidents like this where non-black people say the word, I personally believe we need to start asking bigger questions, deeper questions, and questions that genuinely require our attention as a community. Are we focusing our outrage on the right issues and the issues that actually need our rage and offense? Are we doing that? So let's talk about some issues directly affecting our community that I feel like don't get the same level of rage and offense that we absolutely need to be offended by. So let's get into it. Firstly, why aren't we talking about the fact that when you drive through a predominantly black neighborhood, within 5 to 10 miles, you'll easily see a Popeyes, McDonald's, a Burger King, a Wendy's, and whatever Wingstop place is relevant in that area. Our communities are often targeted by fast food chains and unhealthy food options. That's not a new thing. I think that's common knowledge. I think we all know that. But here's the thing. A study by the CDC found that nearly 48% of African American adults are obese. So here's what we should be offended by. Here's what we need to be offended by. These fast food chains and these establishments frequently partner with black celebrities and influencers to market to us. Look, we know our food is killing y'all, but look, here's Saweetie. Here's Cardi and Offset, here's Megan, here's Travi, here's Michael, here's Mariah, the list goes on. Here are all these black people, look, we love y'all, look, we partner with y'all, look, we killing y'all, but look, don't we make it look pretty? Why aren't we outraged by that manipulation? We know these food chains are directly killing us, literally, and I'll get into the numbers, and we know the proximity of these food chains within our communities are the direct link and correlation to a lot of the health issues more common in black people. But it's like we completely forget about it and we kind of just brush it off and we accept it because they're partnering with people that look like us, even though they do not have our best interest at heart. Why aren't we offended by that?
When you start to look at the diets of not only African-American women, but African-Americans in general, we by far have the worst diet, bar none. Like when you start to look at what we eat, it is always crunchy, which means fried. It is always salty. It is always sugary and creamy. And it is always processed, the vast majority of it. Nobody is making things from scratch anymore, real ingredients. So when you start to look at that diet that is mostly fried, mostly processed, lots of carbohydrates, lots of meat filled with hormones and antibiotics that affect the hormonal imbalance, the hormone balance in the body, you start to understand why that is literally a prescription for not only reproductive issues, but issues in general.
So often we talk about how black people are behind. I'm going to give you some statistics that hopefully it'll make you say, whoa, or it'll challenge you to take action. 18.7% of African Americans that are 20 years old or greater are dealing with pre-diabetes, diabetes, or undiagnosed but have an elevated A1C. Or we can say 4.9 million African Americans that are 20 years old or greater are dealing with diabetes. The risk of getting diabetes, 77% higher in African Americans than in our Caucasian brothers and sisters. At one point, 1.5 was more likely to be hospitalized, and 2.3 were more likely to face death, literally die, because of diabetes than our white brothers and sisters. And this the one that took the cake for me. $412 billion was spent towards diabetes. 306 of it was direct medical bills. 106 of it indirect medical bills. That medical bill from diabetes is costing you your wealth and your life.
It's estimated that black men have a 50% increased risk of prostate cancer. That's a big amount.
Black Americans have higher rates of high blood pressure than any other racial group. And despite knowing this, blacks also have lower rates of blood pressure control. Hypertension and heart disease go hand in hand.
According to the American Stroke Association, Black Americans are 50% more likely to have a stroke and 2 times as likely to die compared to our white counterparts. And this is just the basic health stuff. This isn't talking about the fact that Black women are more likely to die in childbirth. We haven't gotten into that. Is a whole other conversation. But right now, I'm just talking about the health, the food, the diseases and the sicknesses directly caused by the food that we're consuming. We are a target to the fast food industry because we fund their besties. As long as we are unhealthy, as long as we are sick, and as long as we are dying, the pharmaceutical and healthcare industry will always be profiting. They will always be making money because we'll always be sick.
What is going on with big food, and is it making us sick?
Cancer, Alzheimer's, heart disease, obesity, autoimmune conditions, these are all going up, and they are all foodborne illnesses. And the fact that there is not clear communication about that from our medical leaders and public policy leaders, I think is the biggest scandal in America and the most dangerous scandal. We are being brought to our knees by metabolic dysfunction tied to food. 8 of the 10 killers of Americans, as I mentioned, some of them are directly tied to food. That also includes depression. Depression is skyrocketing, and as Chris Palmer at Harvard and some other prominent doctors are pointing out, brain conditions are metabolic dysfunctions. I frame it that way to kind of set the table that what's happening right now in America, where 30% of children have prediabetes, where insane. 80% of adults are obese or overweight, where 50% of adults have fatty liver disease and 20% of teens have fatty liver disease. You only saw this condition in elderly alcoholics just a generation ago. But the system is evil. So let's just take your question here. The NAACP has the express mission of advocating for their community, which in their case is African Americans, particularly lower income and disadvantaged folks. The biggest civil rights issue in the country, the biggest social justice issue in the country is demonstrably nutrition. Lower income American man dies 11 years younger than an upper income American man.
Woof.
This is because of one thing primarily. It is because their diet is on the lower income spectrum is massively ultra processed, right? It's from these ingredients, sugar, seed oils, and highly processed grains. And we can dive into all those 3, but those literally didn't exist 100 years ago. These are, biologically just completely foreign.
Why aren't we offended by that? Let's continue. Why is our community the only one that sees marriage and starting a family as a burden? According to the U.S. Census Bureau, Black Americans have the lowest marriage rate of any racial group in the country. We teach our sons not to settle down. We teach them to wait till their 40s and really to just emotionally and physically exploit women while they're young and they can do it and they can get all these women. But we teach our daughters right after you're done with school, go find a husband. We want our daughters to be wives, but we're not raising men to be husbands. We're not raising men that aspire to be husbands. A lot of men within the Black community see marriage as like, all right, when I'm done, when I'm ready to settle down, when I'm ready to, and I think that's very unfortunate.
I think the truth is why Black men aren't committing to marriage as young. It's just that it's not a part of our culture. It's not a part of how we raised. It's not what's cool. What we're taught, how we move, what we think, what we wear, what we eat, what type of guns we like, it's all aligned with hip hop culture across the board. If rappers is saying fuck bitches get money from 1992 up until today, then that's what we own.
Meanwhile, our white counterparts, they don't play. They get down. They get down. Relationship by 19, ring on finger by 20, married by 21, third kid by 23. They get to it. I'm lying? No, if you go on any social media app, you can at least find 5 white people your age, if you are within the age of 20 to 27, that are, if not married, engaged. They don't play. Why do we view such a beautiful covenant as a burden? We're worried about a word that we've given life to and we've kept relevant since slavery, but we're not addressing the other mess that we've kept from slavery too, which is the strategy of breaking and separating the Black home. So go ahead and pause the video and just read through this. I think this is super important, super eye-opening. It definitely opened mine when I saw it. So yeah. We give so much wealth and power and influence to these influencers and celebrities who promote baby mama culture, and they try to normalize it and they try to look like it's this glamorous thing. Well, to be very clear, they are not broke. When you are broke and single, being a baby mama is not fun. And let me just preface this by saying, like, yes, you know, things can happen when you get married to someone. Things happen where sometimes you don't go into a situation expecting to be a single mother or a baby mama, but it's the intention, it's the principle behind it, and it's the meaning behind it. I would rather become a single mother knowing at one point I was married to someone who had all intentionality of seeing a family with me, seeing a life with me, and something just happened where that wasn't the case anymore, as opposed to a man who found it easier to create a child with me than to make a commitment to me first. I feel like that commitment a man makes to you as the woman first is far more important than any two people can have a baby. Very easy.
If something happens to your baby daddy, you get no say so. What do I mean by this? If, God forbid, he's in a car accident and you guys have a house together, or you live with him, or he's taking care of you and paying all the bills, you have no rights to his assets. You have no rights to any of the hospital decisions. They're going to call his mother or his next of kin. They don't care about baby mamas. They give y'all zero respect in those hospitals, at the bank. We're not his wife. They do not care. So marriage is more than just a protection for the woman. It's a protection for the family. And people gonna lie and say, oh, I'll put you in my will. Wills can be contested in court as well. You got to be protected in a trust. But if he's going to pay thousands of dollars to put you in a trust, why not pay $35 and marry you downtown?
A man wants me to push a baby out this power portal, you're going to have to get on one knee, mother.
If he wants you to have his baby before marrying you, you should start running. He's trying to avoid legal obligations and, 2, truly being committed to you. By making you a baby mama, he can leave you as a single mother with a child while still maintaining an attachment to you. He wants you tied to him, but at the same time wants to keep his options open.
When someone makes a commitment through marriage to you, that is intentionality, that is purpose, that is a promise, and that is an oath. It's the principle behind it. And y'all are never going to brainwash me into thinking that marriage is just some piece of paper, because it's not. Marriage holds weight. Marriage has purpose. Marriage is important. And despite popular opinion and what is being pushed to us, marriage is not bad.
In 2024, I'm going to need the Black community to stop trying to downplay marriage. Marriage is not just a piece of paper, and you guys should be looking for a lifelong partner. But what I'm saying is that there is so much favor in being married. If you look around at other backgrounds and other cultural existences, and you see these other ethnicities, they are getting married. These are mandatory things that happen, because even God knows that a covenant between him and your partner and you is so much a favor. I don't know about y'all, but I would feel so much more just okay knowing that I'm married and I can give this man kids. I have his last name. We have assets. We don't have liabilities, but we have assets. And I want y'all to have that same mindset, because that's the reason why God gave us marriage. You cannot do this life thing alone. Like, God is going to give you people to do it with. This year, please.
We often talk about generational wealth within the Black community, but you have to have a generation to pass that wealth down to. A part of maintaining generational wealth is the ability to responsibly and reliably pass it down. Broken homes create broken people. And the reason I say that is because a lot of the times, like, a lot of men, they allow these women to be single moms and kind of raise these kids by themselves, whether it's you're at work often or you're just always on the road trying to get rich. And I'm trying to do this for y'all. I'm trying to do this for the family. But, like, you're not present in that child's life, so they have no connection to you. And 9 times out of 10, do they really care to pass that wealth down? They might be benefiting from the wealth, but are you raising a son that has respect for you in the way that he wants to maintain, build, and grow that wealth? He's gonna benefit from it, but can he pass it down to his son? Have you instilled that in him through the family unit? Does your son see the money you've made? Or does your son remember how you consistently made his mother cry for whatever reason? Does your son see the money you've made? Or does he remember the missed milestones? Does your son see the money you've made? Or has your son made it a point to be the complete opposite of you when he grows up because of the pain you've knowingly or unknowingly passed down to him, and he doesn't want his son to experience the same thing? So with that, he doesn't want to be anything like you. Therefore, the money you're making doesn't really matter because he's detached from you emotionally. Is your son suffering the consequences in his own adult life from the traumas that you've passed down to him? Money does not matter when the spirit, the heart, and the mind are broken. And the first step to a broken spirit, mind, and heart is a broken home. A lot of pain happens in broken homes. The first step of generational wealth is creating a family unit and starting generations to responsibly and reliably pass that wealth down to.
Out of all the millionaires we studied, one of the key things they said that caused them to be able to build wealth was working together with their spouse. The data says the number one cause of divorce in North America today, money fights and money problems. Well, guess what? That's people who are not aligned on where their money's going. They're not talking about it. They've not combined things. It's just like you're over there in the corner doing stupid stuff and I'm throwing grenades at you and we get a divorce as a result. Some of you have little independence problems or you got other kind of little philosophical issues or something, but you're just wrong. It's just wrong. Okay, it's not morally wrong. It just doesn't work long term. Okay,
and it's not surprisingly, but unfortunately, we live in a very small-minded world and a very spiritually dense generation. That's just what it is. And when people think of the word wealth, they think of the money. They think of it in a monetary kind of way. Generational wealth doesn't necessarily have to be you making all this money. It could just be, okay, you know, me as a man, I'm married to this woman. We have some children. Through our connections together, I might be giving my child the connections through the people that me and my wife have created a network of, to where my child can have a better opportunity to get here and do this and be in this room because me and my wife have established a network together. So now my kids have a network through the family unit. Generational wealth could be like me and my wife. We bought this house. We paid this house off. When my child is of age, they can add on to this home. They can renovate this home. They can increase the value of this home. Generational wealth isn't just the physical money. It is the value that you can bring to your children from the decisions that you and your wife make as a unit. There's levels to generational wealth. And this goes to my next topic as far as the generational wealth gap between the Black community and our white counterparts.
So I post about Black books all the time. But today I'm reading Financial Freedom for Black Women, which I just got. And y'all need to listen to this. According to data from the 2007 survey of consumer finance, single Black women in their working prime have a median net worth of $5.30 compared to $42,600 for single white women. I knew the racial wealth gap was bad, but I didn't think it was that bad.
Reading, according to the Pew Research Center, 64% of Black children live in a single parent household. 84% of Black women are raising children by themselves. 84, y'all. 84. Additionally, the average wealth of Black households is significantly lower than that of white households. The number gap is 24,100 in Black households compared to the average of 188,200 in the white household. Those are some insanely wide gaps. Why aren't we offended by that? Why aren't we offended by the fact that we've allowed ourselves to subscribe to this idea that marriage is bad? Only do it when you're ready in your 40s. Treat women however you want to treat them for this many decades of your life. And then when you're ready, then you can settle. Why not try to do that from a young age? Why not try to build and grow earlier than your 40s? Why aren't we offended that our young Black children are being fed the narrative that entertainment and sports are their only ways out the hood? We constantly see and hear messages, entertainment and sports are the primary routes of prosperity and success. What about education? What about entrepreneurship and other fields? Why aren't we pushing back against this very limited in a box kind of narrative?
In those first few years where a black boy plays a sport, he's probably just a kid having fun, at most idolizing and imitating the sports stars that he sees on TV. But at some point when somebody notices that a boy has this natural talent, he goes from being a kid playing a game to a prospective commodity. Thus, we might see boys as young as 12 or 13 years old begin to carry the pressure and weight of professional athletics, but without the compensation.
If you stay in school, you have a 100% chance of getting a college degree and then making it to the NFL. And I also feel like that entire sports pipeline is so sad because a lot of these men will dedicate everything that they have and all their time and energy and their youth and their bodies to these sports, thinking this is their only way to create a great and prosperous life for themselves and their family. They'll work hard to get these scholarships to a lot of the times these really great colleges. But then these sports require so much time and energy and so much out of you that it makes sense to get this pointless degree that you're not going to use or that has no substance in the real world because you're just trying to make it to the sport. You're just trying to get to practice. You're just trying to make it to the game. So you get this pointless degree that if you do not make it to the professional level of that sport, you just had this degree that you 9 times out of 10 don't even know what to do with it.
Is, and here's been my experience just as a person who mentors student athletes, we literally take these young men, isolate them from the regular student body in high school. You isolate them from the regular student body once they get to college, right? And all you tell them to do is to focus on a sport when less than 2% of them are going to become a professional in that sport. We don't do enough in terms of preparing them for the real world or preparing them for life after the sport. Because again, 98% of them are going to be a professional at something else. And so we basically put them in a situation where their whole identity and everything about them is consumed in something that's going to be ripped from them.
Quick story and stick with me here. My dad would constantly tell me how he would go to parent-teacher conferences for me or one of my siblings, and the teacher would be singing our praises, saying how great of a kid we are, how smart we are, how well we're doing in the course, but we'd have a C. Our parents would be confused because we all know a C is mediocre, and so they're like, how is that great? How are they doing great in your course if it's a C? And it's because they don't expect specifically black boys to be doing well in course like that. That's not how we're supposed to be making it, you know? For black men, we're supposed to be making it as an athlete, a rapper, or some form of entertainer. That's how we're supposed to make it out the hood. Even in that phrase, it's never implied that we can make out the hood using our brains, becoming a professor, becoming a mathematician, becoming a doctor, anything like that. No, it has to be through entertainment for everyone else. Thankfully, I've had people tell me in my life that there's more ways to make it out than just that, but not everyone has that, you know? It is important as the next generation of black men that we tell our black boys that they can make it out the hood or make it out anywhere with their brain, not just their body.
And it's so unfortunate because the minute you stop becoming a potential moneymaker or you stop being of use to these industries, the sports industry, they have no more use for you. They don't care about your family. They don't care about the fact that you might not have a resume. You're going to have a hard time getting a job. They don't care that you don't know that much about the real world outside of that sport. They don't care. These billion-dollar industries, they invest in black men with the hopes on getting the return on their money if you make it to the league. If you don't, they no longer care about you. So it's a lose-lose either way. You go to college, you dedicate your life, you go to this college, you get a pointless degree. If you don't make it to the league, you're gonna have a hard time in the real world. If you do make it to the league and you are that 1, 2, 3% that do make it to the league, you're gonna get this multi-million-dollar deal. 9 times out of 10, you don't have the financial literacy to maintain it or grow it. And somehow the money goes back to them some way, shape, or form because you don't know how to use it. It's gonna go back into the economy either way. They win either way. It is a lose-lose either way.
This Caucasian man who literally makes a living off the backs of black boys. And I said, listen, I need to understand something. You're a Caucasian man. You work with, student athletes. You've been around the black community for a long time. What is the difference between, us and you guys in terms of, poverty and all of these things? So the first thing that came out of his mouth was, we understand generational wealth. That's the first thing that came out of his mouth. He said, I'm going to tell you a story. He said, my mom was poor. He said, so growing up early on, we lived very poor. He said, however, when my grandparents died, they left my mother an inheritance. So now my mom is no longer poor. She has all this money, and when she leaves, she's going to leave it to me. We don't do that in the African American community.
You also have a higher chance of getting a college degree than becoming a successful rapper. Highlight successful. As you get older and you start to live in the real world and your morals start to change and your values change and the things you want out of life change and your outlook on things change, you understand just how toxic and negative the consistent consumption of rap is.
I directed a bunch of rappers, people like Gucci Mane, Snoop Dogg, Lil Yachty, the list goes on and on and on, okay? I learned a lot of things, and I have left the industry largely over my political beliefs, but there is something I want to impart to people to hopefully, make some sort of change happen. So I have a challenge to rappers, and I know some of you still follow me. I know a bunch of the celebrity blogs still follow me from trying to get news from music videos and things like that. So here's the truth. The truth is this. A bunch of young black male rappers keep dying. You know who's not dying? Record executives. The record executives that push for them to continue to make songs and create a culture that is obsessed with death, drugs, and sex. Period. The industry is obsessed with it, but those record executives, they're not dying because they don't push this culture on their own people, but they're encouraging you to push it on yours, and they're paying you handsomely to do it. The reality is, I know a lot of you. A lot of you are good people. You're family guys. You're not the image that you put out there to the world. Why? Why don't you be the example? Stand up. I challenge you. Be the example. Make music about the culture you want to see. You've been used for a long time. They create this paradigm to make you believe that you're so important and your celebrity status is worth so much, but in truth, you're a pawn in their game and you always have been. The government has wanted to hold down communities of people in different ways through different methods for a very long time. Their method in the black community has been to use entertainment to create a culture obsessed with death, drugs, sex, and money so that they could create a false paradigm of what happiness and what success really was.
And so with hip hop got polluted into gangster rap because the corporate giants that control black music in America decided that the time had come for gangster rap to take over hip hop culture in order to breed mass incarceration of young black males. So gangster rap, in many respects, is the marketing scheme for mass incarceration. Everything that gets you arrested is popularized and glamorized in gangster rap music.
And I know there's different artists that make different types of rap, but the one that's pushed in for, let's act like we know now. Let's come on now. The type of rap that's put in front of us is not the positive kind. The one that's glorified to us is like the gang stuff. Rap tells us to mistreat and abuse and exploit women, which is a direct correlation to the broken homes and the mistrust between black women and men. Just saying. Rap tells us don't buy a house, don't invest, don't do all these things. Buy a chain and buy that car, which 9 times out of 10, the car is be leased. In rap, we hear smoke this, drink this, pop this, and a lot of these rappers are more likely to die from the same drugs and the same violence that they sing about in their music. Whichever one you're looking at, a lot of the times when you get this type of money and when you're used to a certain thing and you get access to this huge amount of money, a lot of the times there's this lack of financial literacy, and a lot of times these rappers and these athletes don't know how to maintain, how to grow that money. They end up blowing that money on stuff that don't matter, and they end up having to go back out into the real world or just start to do illegal stuff to maintain their lifestyles.
Most of these rappers are paying their manager 20%. So 20% is $200K, right? Most of them are also paying the lawyer $5 and the business manager $5. So that's 10% for them and 20% for the manager. So it's 30% total commissions that has to come off the top. So of the $1 million, take off 300K, right? Because that's 30%. So you're at 700K. Of that 700K, you are now in the tax bracket that's taxed around like 48%. Let's just call it 50, right? Cut that in half. 350. So $1 million is 350K net. That's what you net. This is before you spend $1. The reason why motherfuckers go broke is because they get $1 million and think they have $1 million to spend.
Most times, if not all the time, they trust you with the money because they expect that you don't know what to do with the money. It's basic wombology, really.
Wombology? The study of wombo? It's first grade, SpongeBob.
One of the other things I think we need to be deeply offended by is the fact that for generations, we have allowed ourselves to stay in a specific, in a box kind of mindset. I don't want to say the V word because that might trigger some emotions, but if you know what I mean, then you know what I mean. But yeah, we've allowed ourselves to stay in this specific mindset, and it's draining. It is so draining. Constantly feeling like everything is out of your control. Everything bad that happens to you is out of your control. All the bad things that have happened to you and your family are out of your control. Has there been a time, if not many times in history, where that has been the case for Black people? Absolutely. Do I believe that that's entirely the case in 2024? No, I don't believe that, y'all. I just don't. In 2024, Black men Black men and women have the power to make change. We do. We've always done that. We make change. We set trends. We create the narrative. We push the needle. We are the world's influencers. Yet we keep mentally disabling ourselves from becoming who our ancestors fought for us to become. We are living currently, right now, today, in their dream. And yet, we allow ourselves to hold on and pass down traumas, dialing back to slavery that are keeping us stagnant. Do I believe that there has been systemic things put in place to keep Black people at a disadvantage? Yeah. But again, I believe in 2024, we are at the point now in history where if we want a change to happen, as long as we are doing the research and we're finding the truth for ourselves and we're looking into things deeper than what is being spoon-fed to us, we can make those changes. It's not a question. We always hear if you say a lie enough times, you'll eventually start to believe it. I also believe if you tell a person that they are oppressed for long enough, eventually it will become their reality and they will start to live in that oppression or oppressive mindset. And they'll become their own oppressor. There have been things set in place for Black people to be behind since slavery. But the fact that some of those things are still happening, we can't continue to blame it on the system. We cannot continue to blame it on white people. We can't keep blaming it on everything and everybody else but ourselves. Look at the media we're consuming. Look at the type of rap we're consuming. Look at what is happening within our own community. At some point, we have to look within ourselves and say, dang, we did this? Oh, we been doing this? Oh, that was us, huh? Oh, we do be doing, we have, at some point, accountability has to take place. And again, while there are still racial issues to address, that is not a question, and I'm not questioning that. It's important to recognize that America right now is the least racist we've ever been in any given point in history, ever. It's impossible to go anywhere where racism or things that stem from racism won't be present in some way, shape, or form. Racism isn't an America thing. Racism is literally demonic. Racism is a spiritual thing. The root of racism is hatred and dysfunction. And it seeps its way into politics. It seeps its way into education. It seeps its way into our society. It seeps its way in economics. But racial issues are not an America thing. That's an anywhere people of color are, and there are leaders in high positions with hateful and evil agendas who want to see separation amongst people thing. You don't have to stay in America to see racism. If you continue to feed and nurture this idea of oppression, it will become your reality. You will start to live it. You will start to believe it. That seems draining to me, to constantly feel like regardless of what you do, you're always at a disadvantage. A big one of those systemic issues that, you know, it's a very big and common and go-to argument within our community is police brutality, right? All police are out to get black men. All police hate black people. All police are out to get black people. Years ago, like for my first internship in college, I used to do door-to-door sales. And a part of that experience was the cops being called on me and my coworker for soliciting, even though, I mean, we weren't really soliciting. We were giving y'all the option. We wasn't really trying to stand nothing. If you wanted to buy, we was going to give it to you, but we wasn't telling you to buy. Really, you weren't really soliciting. But a lot of times it was a part of the daily routine that cops got called on us. And the interactions were always peaceful. The interactions were always like, hey, you know, they called us. What are you guys doing out here? We tell them what we're doing. They're like, oh, okay, well, make sure you guys are safe. You guys have a good day. Sometimes they, do you want some water? Are you guys good? And we go on about our days.
So what my paper showed, you'll see tomorrow, like some of you, was that, yes, we saw some bias in the low-level uses of force every day pushing up against cars and things like that. People seem to like that result. But we didn't find any racial bias in police shootings. Now, that was really surprising to me because I expected to see it. The little-known fact is I had 8 full-time RAs that it took to do this over nearly a year. When I found this surprising result, I hired 8 fresh ones and redid it to make sure. They came up with the same exact answer, and I thought it was robust. And then I went to go give it, and my God, all hell broke loose.
And even going back before I was in America, like I grew up around police officers. My mom was a police officer. My mom's boyfriend was a police officer. My aunt was a police officer. My dad was a police officer. I was around a lot of police officers. I would spend a lot of time at the Halfway Tree police station before school, after school. If my mom couldn't find anyone to watch me, I'd be at the events. I'd be there on the weekends. A lot of police officers helped me with my homework. They helped me in situations where my mom needed help or assistance with stuff. Like, I've been around police officers my entire life. So I guess because I don't have that initial mindset of like, oh, fear the police and my initial reaction to police officers isn't it's not fear, but being that I grew up around police officers, I can say there are 110% very corrupt police officers. That's not an America thing. That is an anywhere police officers reside, you are gonna have corrupt police officers who abuse their power, and you're gonna have police officers who honor their position. That's not an America thing. That is an anywhere police officers are present thing. There's some police officers in Jamaica that do some heinous things. We just can't call it racism in Jamaica because racism isn't really a thing in Jamaica. It's more like a colorism, classist thing. But like, there are extremely corrupt police officers anywhere where police officers exist. And I think the way the media works, anytime there's a negative interaction between a black man or a black person and a police officer, it's heightened to the extent because, again, they're using words and they're using our emotions and our trauma to cause us to believe that we're so oppressed, when for every 5 police officers that are corrupt, there's about 50 that would have handled the situation differently. I'm not saying there aren't really corrupt police officers. There absolutely are. And I do believe that they should be held accountable and should suffer the consequences of those actions and abusing their position and abusing that badge. But I don't think all police officers or all people in authority are out to get black people. I think that is a draining and heavy burden and narrative to weigh on your heart generation after generation after generation. It's draining. Police officers are everywhere. So you're telling me everywhere police officers are, anytime you see a police officer, you might be having a good day, a peaceful day, and immediately this wave of fear just comes over you because you think they're going to kill you because you are black?
Because what's frustrating to me is that we have a ton of black people who genuinely think that there are thousands of young black men getting shot and killed by the police every year.
You guys know how many unarmed black men were killed by police last year?
No. A good amount.
I know people. To guess, what would you say?
Over 1,000.
Over 1,000?
I say a good, like, probably like 1,400, about there. Too many to count, probably.
And that's just not the case. If we're looking at 2022, 12 unarmed black men were killed by the police. And I'm well aware this is a little bit of a different scenario, but I bring this up to show perspective. What's crazy is that in 2022, while 12 unarmed black men were shot by police, 19 people were struck by lightning and died. That's how rare this is. There are more people routinely getting struck by lightning and dying than black unarmed people are being shot by the police. And yet, even though we have these numbers, you have people blocking traffic and saying all cops are bad, when in reality, you're more likely to be in danger walking down the street in the hood than to be dealing with any white cop at all. And that's just the truth. We need police in our communities, but this is how we treat them. And by no means do I condone this behavior. It's sad, but I low-key understand why they feel the way they feel. I understand why a lot of black people despise the police and our youth is being raised to just not respect them. I hated America to its core because of the false narratives that the media was pushing. I felt like I had a target on my back and that the police hated me just because I was black. And when you're being told that an entire group of people who serves the government, who's supposed to be protecting me, actually hates me and wants to kill me, that really messes with one's mental health. I mean, hell, the media wouldn't dare show you footage of our troops overseas getting shot and killed on TV, but what they will show you is black people getting killed on live TV. It's actually messed up how much the media is playing with our minds and society as a whole. Truly, I just wish more people, specifically black people, looked at the data for what it is. Again, I'm not saying all police are amazing and nothing bad ever happens, but compared to how our reaction is, it doesn't really match what's going on.
Okay, so here we go.
Oh, I'm surprised.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're off, right? If you're, what do you think about that number?
This is actually kind of surprising. I honestly thought it would be more black people because they show more black people getting like, I know, they like make it seem like black people are always getting like killed by the cops more than media, like on Twitter. I only seen one video of a white guy getting shot like 7 times, but that was just like a couple days ago. Apart from that.
What would you say?
I find that kind of surprising too, but like I agree. Like I see more media like showing black people getting killed by police than white people. So it's probably just like in my mind, since I see it more, then it happens more.
I do believe that a lot of that majority of black people, they do encounter 1 or 2 police officers that gave them a negative interaction. And then we hold on to that because we've been fed the narrative that all police officers are out to get us. So for every 1 or 2 negative interactions that we have with police officers, we internalize it. And now we judge every single police officer that way because that's what we're told to do. But people don't talk about the normal interactions. People don't show the normal interactions. People don't highlight the normal interactions. People don't post and upload the police officers that are doing things how they're supposed to, who are talking calmly, who are just doing their jobs how they should. That's not getting posted. What they post is those negative reactions. Okay, and a lot of times when you look at those reactions and you are truthful about what is going on, a lot of the times it's an escalated situation. Yeah, y'all, that to me, that's just a heavy burden to bear, to just always continue to teach our kids that because of something that you cannot control, you will always be attacked, instead of there's going to be people in the world that are going to dislike you. That could be because the color of your skin, the tone of your skin, the way your hair shrinks, the way your hair grows, the way your body, because that's the reality of stuff. There are bad people and there are good people. There are bad police officers. There are good police officers. I don't believe that all police officers are bad. I believe bad police officers are bad. There are some who abuse their badge and there are some who are very honorable. You can put someone in another uniform and they might abuse that authority. You can put someone in any uniform. You can put someone in any position of authority. If that person goes into that position with bad motives, with negative motives, bad things are going to happen. That's not a police officer thing. That's if you are a moral person with no morals and your motive going into anything was to abuse your power and to be bad, that's what you're going to do regardless of what title you're giving yourself. Police officer, security guard, politician, like that's anybody that wants to abuse power, they're going to do that. But listen, I could have made this video 10 hours long. I don't know how long it is. It looks like I've been recording for like 1 hour 30. Hopefully, I can cut it down to like 40 minutes or so. But to summarize everything, we have allowed our trauma to become a marketing strategy, not just politically, but in different areas as well. We've allowed ourselves to believe that we're enemies of the world, when in fact, when you look at what's going on and what we've allowed to happen, we are our own biggest enemies. We allow political propagandists to play on our emotions and our traumas. We allow the media to feed us on what's right, how we should live, how we should do this. We give these celebrities and these influencers and these rappers and these artists, these platforms that feed nothing into our community. They give us nothing. Be a baby mama, scam, be with a man that's gonna treat you bad, but as long as he's getting money, that's okay. Treat women poorly, get a bunch of women, have sex with a bunch of women. And we've allowed ourselves to stay in this mindset that we are at the mercy of everyone else. We're not. We can create change. We can make change. We can make things happen. We have authority. We have the power to make things change. And we have, most importantly, the power to educate ourselves. Truly, we have a lot to worry about and a lot to handle. And I can assure you, a random white woman saying the N-word who's causing us this mass outrage to end up losing her job, who would probably put her in a position to never have to work again, to be quite honest, because she's always been a troll. This is her niche. She's a troll. She's been doing it and she hit the jackpot. All you got to do as a white person is say the N-word, and then there's this outrage. And if you know how to market yourself, you will never have to work again, and you'll have a platform. You're going to be on this interview. You're going to be asked to be on this podcast. You're going to be on this media outlet. And to be quite honest, the mindset of it is kind of insane, because if we're saying that she's racist for using this word, and our reaction and the consequence that we think is right for that is losing her job, if the world is so racist, don't y'all feel like she's going to get another job? If everybody's racist, why do y'all feel like she's not going to be able to get another job once this all dies down? It just does. It doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't. I always say in like every video, you do not have to agree with me. I'm not necessarily here to make videos for people to agree. It's great if you guys agree with me, and I love that it seems like you guys have agreed with me, but I'm sure eventually I'll make a video where you guys don't. But whether you agree with me or not, my goal is to push people to question things, question everything, be curious, be inquisitive, challenge yourself, challenge your familiarity, challenge yourself to look beyond what has been sold to us and spoon-fed to us. Then we'll truly regain our power as a community. Knowledge is power and wisdom is ammunition. We can't keep allowing ourselves to complain about stuff and we're simultaneously feeding into the stuff that we're complaining about. Doesn't make sense. It's time to redirect our energy to make things actually start happening, and it's time to hold ourselves accountable. Let's demand better for ourselves. Let's demand better for our health. Let's demand better for our families. Let's demand more for our future. Yep, that's all I wanted to share with you guys. I hope you guys took something out of this video. Give it a thumbs up if you like the video, and comment below if you agree with any of this, if you disagree with anything. And I love hearing you guys' thoughts in the comments. Be sure to subscribe, because again, we are on the road to 5,000, honey. I'm so excited about that. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys next week in our next video. Until then, bye.
I've been all in my phone, I got options, and I don't wanna tell you to drop it, but I don't wanna